Hello, good morning. I'm Kristen Armstrong and I am an attorney with Shepherd Elder Law. And I'm here today to talk with you about the top 5 myths about Medicaid eligibility here in Kansas. So the Medicaid programs that I will be talking about today are home and community-based services and nursing home Medicaid. Again, here in Kansas, these are the two that we elder law attorneys work with primarily. Who we are Shepherd Elder Law, and Samantha Shepherd is our managing attorney. She works in our Overland Park office, and my name is Kristen Armstrong, and I manage the South Central Kansas office here in Hutchinson. Our offices are located in Overland Park and in North Kansas City by appointment only, and then again, here I am in Hutchinson. What is elder law? As elder law attorneys, we get the question a lot of, do we help with estate planning? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. We help people of all ages with their estate planning. But we also help with the period between retirement and end of life. And what I mean by that is that most of the time folks have a financial planner they work with that helps them to plan for retirement. And then again, it's not unusual for folks to meet with an estate planning attorney or an attorney to talk about probate avoidance and some of those end of life matters. But frequently people kind of miss the period in between, and they don't necessarily plan for that period in between retirement and end of life, which can sometimes mean nursing facility. In fact, 7 out of 10, so 70%, 7 out of 10 folks in Kansas will need long-term care at some point or another. What about Medicare? We get that question a lot. Will Medicare cover long-term care expenses? And people are usually shocked to find out that that answer is no. Medicare will cover some long-term care expenses if you have a qualifying hospital stay. Qualifying hospital stay meaning 7 or more overnights in the hospital, not admitted as observation status. You have to be a full admit. And then at that point, Medicare will cover up to 100 days. And I keep stressing the up to because it is frequently somewhat, quite a bit less than 100 days is what most people will have covered. So Medicare is not going to cover much of your long-term care stay. Therefore, we've got to look at Medicaid as an option most of the time. Myth number 5 about Medicaid, and in Kansas, Medicaid is called CanCare, so the program that we're working with is called CanCare. Myth number 5 is that you must sell your house, or that the nursing home will take your house, or that the state will take your house. That is a myth because you are not always required to sell your house. Frequently, you are not required to. Number 1, if we have a community spouse, meaning we've got a married couple, and let's say husband goes into the nursing home, wife can continue living in the community. Again, we call her the community spouse. She can keep living in the community. She does not need to sell her house. Medicaid is not going to take her house. There is federal law that is protecting the community spouse and that house. So that house is protected while community spouse is alive. And she can do whatever she wants with it. She could sell it. She can get a new house. That house is still hers. The nursing home will take your house. No, the nursing home is not going to take your house, nor is the state going to take your house when we're talking about Medicaid eligibility. Here again, what happens to my house? Again, there's a difference between married persons and single persons. We can talk a little bit about pre-planning versus crisis planning. It's never too late to plan. I'm going to stress that in here quite a bit. It's never too late to plan. And we have exempt and non-exempt resources for eligibility. What I mean by exempt and non-exempt is that the house is an exempt resource. So even for a single person, that house can be exempted for a period of time. You're going to see that the criteria for married persons and for single persons is identical in terms of exempt versus non-exempt purposes. that house can be an exempt asset even for a single person. Now, you will maybe need to sell that house if you're single and we don't have a community spouse living in it. But we can usually protect it for at least 6 months, and then it's protected for a period of time while it is listed for sale as well. Again, it's never too late to plan, as we're talking about pre-planning versus crisis planning. While we do some pre-planning ahead of time, again, 5 years ahead, I'm going to talk about that 5 years here in a minute, but if we have some time to do pre-planning, we can definitely protect the real estate. If we're in what we call crisis planning, meaning it's too late, we're already going in the nursing home, or we are already in the nursing home, we can still protect the house. Again, for a community spouse, always protected. For a single person, there are some things that we can do as well. Myth number 4, you can only have one vehicle. That is false. What that has to deal with is, again, we've got married persons versus single persons. We have one exempt vehicle for eligibility purposes. Other vehicles, if we have a community spouse, again, if we have a married couple, the community spouse, the vehicles are allowed to be counted against that community spouse resource allowance. What that means is, let's say that the spouse is allowed to keep $25,000 worth of stuff. The vehicle could go towards that, that extra vehicles could come off of that $25,000 value. Vehicles that are more than 7 years old in Kansas are assessed a value of $100 for Medicaid purposes. So it is possible for a community spouse to have 5 vehicles. Let's say that husband likes to tinker around with old cars, so we've got a bunch of them laying around. One is exempt. The others, if they're older than 7 years, would be assessed a value of $100. So we would, that's not going to eat up much of that $25,000 allowance. If the spouse has more resources and is allowed to keep $125,000, then there again, we don't have to sell those extra vehicles. We just count up how many extra vehicles they have, subtract it from that allowance. Single persons, again, one exempt vehicle, and then the value of the other vehicles is important there too. So here again, vehicles more than 7 years old are assessed a value of $100. The difference is with single persons, you've got to be below that $2,000 limit. So if you've got 5 $100 vehicles, that's $500 against your $2,000 limit. So you could have $1,500 in cash and 5 extra clunkers. Myth number 3, what about the 3-year look back period? Sometimes I also get the what about the 7-year look back period? There is no 3-year look back period for Medicaid, and there is no 7-year look back period for Medicaid. It is 5 years. There is a 5-year look back period for Medicaid. What that is referring to is transferring assets from one person to another. And even that's a blanket statement that there are exceptions to. Of course, there's always exceptions within the law. So the look back period is not 3 years, it's not 7 years, it is 5-year look back period. But again, it's never too late to plan. Here we go, pre-planning versus crisis planning. Pre-planning is when we have 5 or more years, or we think we will have 5 or more years before applying for Medicaid. Not necessarily 5 years before going in the nursing home, it's 5 years before we need to apply for Medicaid. Okay, that's a big deal. If we have a lot of land and we have some cash, maybe we can still do some planning even in those 5 years. Or if you have a long-term care insurance, we might be able to do some pre-planning even within a 5-year look-back period. So even if you're already going in the nursing home, it may not be too late to pre-plan. For crisis planning, it is never too late. Never, never, never too late. Myth number 2, division of assets means add everything up and divide by 2. Or I can do a division of assets on my own, or the nursing home is helping me with the division of assets. I would caution any long-term care facility or nursing home from helping a family with a division of assets. They're very complicated, and despite what they may think, they may not know all of those exceptions to the rules. It is very dangerous to rely on a long-term care facility to assist you with the division of assets, as it may or may not be done properly. If the application comes back to be denied, you may end up with a balance due and owing to the long-term care facility. If that application is pending for 4 months and you owe $8,000 a month, and you find out at the end of month 4 that that application is denied, well, you've got a whole lot of money owed to the nursing home at that point. The division of my assets on my own, frequently that's, again, misguided information, thinking that you're just basically adding up your assets and dividing by 2. That could cause you to spend way more than you need to if you are not counting exempt assets versus non-exempt assets and that kind of thing. So again, you could end up spending much more than is necessary. Or you could fall in a trap where you're not spending enough. You think that you have to add up and divide by 2. You think you've done that, but maybe you didn't have your snapshot date correct, or any number of things, which I won't get into today. But again, part of what an elder law attorney can do, we can analyze these kinds of things. But it's very possible that you would underspend as well as the potential for overspending. Number 1, it's too late to plan for long-term care. Again, I've been stressing this whole time. It is never too late to plan for long-term care. We can help in both the pre-planning asset preservation strategies. We can also work with the crisis planning, which is, we kind of internally, we call crisis planning, planning when we've already got a spouse or a loved one in the nursing home or going into the nursing home very, very soon, or needing to apply for HCBS, which is home and community-based services, which is what some of the assisted living facilities take, and also your in-home care as well. So again, never too late to plan. Elder law attorneys can help you even in the crisis, and even if we don't have 5 years. Call us today. Again, Samantha Shepard works in our Overland Park and Kansas City offices, 913-333-3533. And again, my name's Kristen, and I'm here in the Hutchinson office, 620-662-2905.